Women burn an average of 69 calories during sex, or about 3.2 per minute. A woman can orgasm in about 4 minutes through masturbation, but it will take her 10 to 20 minutes to orgasm during intercourse. The average erect penis is just 5.57 inches long. 50% to 75% of women who have an orgasm require clitoral stimulation. Most women are unable to have an orgasm through intercourse alone. Women frequently think about and want sex too. 53% of women were not having sex as much as they would have liked. Those who had penile vaginal intercourse had better stress responses than those who reported other or no sexual behaviors. People with the worst sex life tend to take on more work to compensate for their lack of fulfillment in the bedroom. 36% of men and 35% of women who have sex only once a week plunge themselves into their work. 75% of men reach orgasm after 2 minutes or less of masturbation. Men often need rest before achieving a second orgasm. This is known as the refractory period. During the refractory period, a man doesn't think about sex or get aroused. If during penetration the woman squeezes your penis with her vagina, it means that the blood flow in that region is very high, and this causes a lot of pleasure and excitement in her until she orgasms. A man roughly ejaculates 17 liters of semen in his whole life that contains about 500 billion sperm. Men burn an average of 1 to 1 calories during sex, or about 4.2 calories burned per minute. Sex can decrease a man's risk for a fatal heart attack. Men who had sex 2+ times per week were less likely to die from a heart attack than men who had sex less often. 56% of men watch porn every few days, compared with just 25% of women. 20% of men admit to watching porn online at work. About 13.3% of women do. 36.6% of women said that they need oral to reach climax. 46.8% of all high school students reported ever having sex. One of the most common driving factors of sex is the self-esteem boost many get from doing the deed. Some people also have more altruistic intentions and want their partners to feel good about themselves. Sex hasn't always been associated with sin and guilt. Pre-Christian beliefs often regarded sex as a carnival and a form of worship. Sex was seen as reflecting the sensual power of the gods. Married people have only 6.9 more sexual encounters every year than those who were not married or have never been married. Men aged 50+ who have frequent sex are less likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer than men their same age who do not have sex often. Intercourse and masturbation may reduce the risk of prostate cancer in older men. Men in their 20s who ejaculate frequently have a decreased risk of prostate cancer. Frequent sex may improve a man's sperm quality, reduce DNA damage to sperm, and increase fertility. Men who had sex daily or ejaculated daily had more viable and higher quality semen than men who didn't have sex. An orgasm is the only physiological reaction in a human body that cannot willingly stop once it has started, apart from sneezing. The young men in the study reported thoughts of sex 19 times per day on average. Sex can decrease a man's risk for a fatal heart attack. Men who had sex 2+ times per week were less likely to die from a heart attack than men who had sex less often. Men who had sex 2+ times per week were less likely to die from a heart attack than men who had sex less often. The study found no relationship between the frequency of intercourse and the likelihood of dying from a stroke.